What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast. Now, I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss the Smashing Pumpkins in 2020. I want to talk about, are they taking a break and really their future plans going forward. Now, I made a video a few weeks back, right before this video actually, and I talked about the Smashing Pumpkins music in 2019. What are we expecting? You know, the Machina reissue, Billy Corgan's solo work, all this kind of Shining Oh So Bright Volume 2. There's a lot of stuff coming out this year, and you know, if you go in his Instagram, he does a lot of Q&A. He does it basically every single day, and he answers so many questions. And one of the biggest things being talked about, especially over the last couple days that I'm recording, so maybe like 2 weeks ago, one of the biggest things that he is kind of reoccurring in what he keeps talking about and answering is a lot of the stuff regarding the future. And this isn't like a clickbait thing. This isn't. I've seen a lot of articles, really a ton of articles that talk about the Smashing Pumpkins, maybe because they're a smaller band than what they once were. But I find a lot of the articles written about them nowadays tend to be clickbait and tend to be kind of big topics that, you know, they just try and get people to click on it, whereas they don't really talk about what Billy Corgan actually talks about, things like that. And so anything that kind of comes off regarding the Smashing Pumpkins nowadays kind of is regarded as clickbait because it's just big topics to get people to read. Again, because I just feel like, in a way, there's not as much to talk about with the Smashing Pumpkins, and they're not as big of a name. And so, you know, I don't want to fall in the same category as that, basically, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to just talk about my own impressions and opinions of what was talked about. And again, one of the biggest things that was kind of talked about is Billy Corgan's future. And a lot of what his future wants to be, or what he said about his future, is solo work and eventual even retirement. Trying to step out of things a little bit and kind of do different kinds of things. And I find that really, really interesting, especially the solo part. Somebody asked him a very specific question, like, in the future, do you see yourself working more on Smashing Pumpkin stuff or solo stuff? And he said solo stuff, which is interesting. And based off their age, you know, like 51, 52 years old, they're getting up there, all of them. Him, Jimmy Chamberlin, James Iha, they're all getting older, and they can't do it forever. And especially Billy Corgan as well, you know, has kids, 2 kids, just had a kid over the last year. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on. And in terms of, like, I didn't want to make this video like the Smashing Pumpkins are breaking out, the Smashing Pumpkins are done, but I think you're going to see, I think what's going to be a little weird to see over the next 12 months, over the next year or so, is a slowing down. We're so used to, I think really over the past 2 years, really, year and a half, listening and hearing all the stuff about the reunion and bringing everybody back together. That was so much, there was so much noise there. And there were so many articles, and there was so much talk, and so much about the future, and so awesome that we're getting everybody back together, and they're back, and they're honestly bigger, not bigger than ever, but they're big. They're as big as they were, I'd say, back in 2000, a little bit after. I think that's honestly a fair assessment, where, no, they're not as big as they were in Melancholy or Siamese Dream, even Siamese Dream, but mainly Melancholy, Adore, where they were able to, you know, put on huge performances for many thousands of people. They're not there anymore. Yeah, they can still sell out these kind of what arenas you would call them, like 8, 9, 10,000 people. They can headline these festivals like they're doing in Europe over this summer, but they can't do like a stadium. They can't do a stadium tour where they're like a Taylor Swift where they can do 70,000, 80,000 people. They're not that big. They once were maybe kind of borderline, but now they definitely aren't. And when you look towards their future, but now, you know, it's been awesome. They gave us Shining Oh So Bright. They're coming out this year again with so many things. They still want to do reissues. Billy Corgan's talked about Zwan a lot. He's even talked about unreleased stuff on Oceania. So there's so much stuff. Maybe we'll get a Zeitgeist thing too. So much of this old stuff coming back, trying to get through all of their old catalogs. Shining Oh So Bright Volume 2. Who knows, maybe we'll get a Volume 3. But I just feel like it's all kind of leading up to 2019 finishing. We get all these music. We get another solo album from Billy Corgan. And then 2020 hits, and then they have to slow down. I feel like it's kind of a have-to thing where they've been going for so long. At that point, when 2019 ends, they'll have been going for almost 2 years. And there's just been so much music, and they're back, and again, all that kind of talk. But at the same time, like, there is a break coming. I feel like there is a slowdown period coming where they can't do it at this speed. We're honestly a little bit spoiled from them, where I feel like we're in for a 2 to 3 year break at some point before we come back. I just feel like, and I feel like that's honestly what he's talking about, to not be like a clickbaity thing. When he's talking about more solo than Smashing Pumpkins, I feel like it's because after this year, we're going to start to see 2-3 year breaks in between Smashing Pumpkins work, and in between that will be a lot of solo stuff. So yeah, for 2 years we may see solo stuff. Third year Smashing Pumpkins stuff, they go on tour back and forth, back and forth. And again, they can't do this forever. He's 51. He just turned 51. So how long do you really think he can do it? I know bands still play and still tour, into their 60s and 70s. Could happen, and but we may only get a tour every 3 to 4 years from the Smashing Pumpkins going forward. So in that way, it's a little bit sad because again, like, he's gone on tour so much, both solo and Smashing Pumpkins. He goes on tour quite a lot. And again, we've kind of been spoiled over the last year, gotten a lot of Smashing Pumpkin stuff. Over the next year, we're going to get even more Smashing Pumpkin stuff. So it's like we've had so much music over the last year and a half, 2 years, and I feel like we just are in for that period of like, all right, we've had so much music. We need time with our families. We need time for solo stuff. We need time to kind of just take a break, and then we'll come together, but we don't necessarily know when we'll come together. And I think that's honestly what we're heading towards. And it's a little sad because that kind of reunion, everything's up, and they're doing so much work, and they're doing so many new songs and so much new music. It's coming to an end, and it happens with all new bands. Well, it happens not with all new bands. It happens with all bands in general. Any musician, you have that ramp up towards their new music. Their new music comes out, they tour, and then they there's just nothing from them for a couple of years, maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3. Then they come back, and it's just a cycle, and it goes back and forth, and Smashing Pumpkins, it's just been an up cycle, honestly, longer than most. Well, the whole reunion talk, leading into the reunion, leading into the new music, leading into the tour, leading into the summer stuff, leading into, again, new music, and a Christmas album, and solo stuff, and reissues. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of music over the last 2 years, and normally that cycle isn't as long as what they are doing. So I'm happy that we've gotten this amount of stuff from them this time, but I think we're in for a little bit of a slower period in especially 2020. I feel like it's going to be a very slow year for the Smashing Pumpkins. Very little, talk on them in general. I think it'll be more solo stuff, more resting after this long, 2-year stretch. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? What are you expecting from the Smashing Pumpkins in 2019 and 2020, and really in the future, just in general? Where do you think they're going to go? How much or how little do you think they're going to produce music? Let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And we cover the Smashing Pumpkins every couple of weeks on the channel, where we talk about their albums, talk about news in general. So if you guys like the Smashing Pumpkins, make sure you guys stick around, because we have new videos every 2 to 3 weeks we do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.